Oh boy, internet, EDP445 is in some deep doo-doo. You know, that would be an understatement in this situation, because this situation is a crime. But I can't describe what this crime is for about the first 3 minutes, because somebody in sweatshop labor has to review this video and determine whether or not it can have ads run on it. So we're gonna really skirt around the issue and talk about it without really saying what happened. Anyway, for the unfamiliar, EDP445 is a YouTuber who got famous because of a meme where he went into a bathroom and blew it up.
Yeah, I just took a mean ass shit in Chipotle, and I've been holding this shit for almost, what, 15, 16 hours, and I used so much tissue to wipe my ass with. When I flushed the toilet, it didn't go all the way the down, so...
Yes, for the unfamiliar amongst you, EDP actually got his start as a bit of a meme on the internet based off of this video. Yeah, for some reason, we're talking about EDP445, and I've seen a couple of videos about this situation, and not one has brought up his origin or his name, which I swear to God I will bring up soon because it's absolutely hilarious and by far the absolute peak of insanity. Well, it would have been the peak of insanity, but he had a bit of a gamer moment. Okay, so for the TLDR, for people who aren't aware of what happened, EDP445 got caught in 4K 10 times over. You might have seen a Drama Alert video, a Scarce video, or perhaps Cavos. You know, there's tons of different guys you could have watched about it. But in general, what happened is that EDP445 was engaging in provocative conversations with someone of the younger persuasion, which I hope is beating around the bush enough, but just in case we're a little unfamiliar, here's an image that may or may not have something to do with this situation. Anyway, these young fellows were able to perform a sting operation on EDP445 where they caught him in 4K talking to an individual who is 13 years of age, or, well, he assumed they were 13 years of age, but it turns out it was a sting operation. Now, this video had been teased for a bit and nobody believed that this was actually real until it came out and it was, and this completely validated all of the other accusations that were brought up in the past against this guy. He even admits to doing a lot more than what just happened in the video, which is alarming to say the least. However, there's a very good chance he's going away into the big house for quite a long time. Anyway, the sting operation really just has a lot of highlights and moments that are like, bruh. So here's one of those.
Have you talking to Sophie, correct? Yes or no?
Right.
Okay. Sophie is how old? Before, and again, I have it right here. I know the answer, but I just need you to tell me the answer. How old is she?
13.
13, okay. Right. And before we get into the messages, there was sexual content involved, yes or no?
Right. We gotta get the fuck out of here.
Ah, yes, that is quite the bra moment indeed. I don't think I could find a more textbook definition of a bra moment. You know, on one hand, situations like this, at least, you know, when they're caught in 4K, when these kinds of people are just caught red-handed like this, it's very cathartic. I'm someone who comes from a background where, you know, I worked with a lot of kids that were either victims of people like this or grew up in homes that were very bad, to say the least. You know, places where anything that's as bad as you could think to do it to a child, these people had done. And, you know, at least in some respect, seeing a video like this does give me a sense of catharsis. But then on the other hand, it also irritates me because it makes me think, okay, so these knuckleheads on YouTube can do it, but not the police, but not this or that or the other thing, and that's really frustrating because you hear about it, it happens, and then they end up on a registry and they have to say it, but then it happens again, and it's this circular system of where it keeps happening, and then, you know, it happens to a child, and because the cycle of abuse is a thing, it keeps happening. And I don't want to get on a tangent here about this, but, you know, this stuff is incredibly damaging. Aside from the event alone, some of this stuff can become generational issues. It's bad, to say the least. So I'm gonna spare most of us the pain and strife that comes with me reading most of the EDP445 messages. Cavos has a great video that breaks it down, or you can watch the original video about it. I will say that those messages are pretty gnarly and disgusting, and you know, it takes a lot to bother me, but I will say it actually did bother me, you know, so there's that. I think it's really interesting to watch situations like this unfold because they kind of almost act as catalysts for larger movements or events on YouTube, and we've seen stuff like this happen before, so I'm going to spend a bit of the video talking about that. But first, by now I bet you're wondering what EDP445 stands for, so I'm going to tell you now that it stands for Eat That Pussy 445.
What the fuck's going on, everybody? It's your boy Eat That Pussy 445, nigga.
Seriously? That's what his name is, and for some reason not a single human being has brought up that his name was that. He had to change it because obviously you can't have that as your YouTube name and not get in trouble. So now it's EDP445, but I can assure you that it stands for Eat That Pussy 445. I assume 445 is his area code. It's just a guess there, but whatever. So what does EDP being caught in 4K mean for you and me? Well, moreover, what does it mean for me? Well, as far as reporting on drama goes, I don't think much is going to change on that front, but there has been a large influx of professional, I'm going to use professional, big air quotes there, professional air quotes journalists who have come into the sphere recently, probably right around the time where Onision got his show on Discovery Plus, right around that time where these people started showing up and writing articles about the mass amount of predators and horrible offenders on YouTube. Now, I will also say that humans have a negativity bias, so things like, you know, for example, the title of this video are negative, so you might have clicked on it almost subconsciously because those negative words influenced you to click on it. It's just a byproduct of how we act. We respond more to negative language and negative talk. It's just how we are. Anyway, I was getting off topic here. So, all these people have shown up and been reporting on events online. They have reported on David Dobrik, which is a highly publicized and public event about bad things that I'm sure we're all aware of, and I'm not going to describe here because YouTube is bad. Anyway, there's events like that, and James Charles, which seems like a very on-again, off-again kind of thing. It doesn't help that Ethan Klein and Def Noodles like to muddy the water and very much hyperbolize everything. But there's also that. Those are two very high-profile events about YouTubers in regards to sex crimes and lots of manipulation and all these very scary words, right? So that happens, and then you have a guy like Onision, who has been on the receiving end of those criticisms for his entire career. And now you're starting to develop this idea of what YouTubers are if you're not a YouTuber. Now, I will say that there are more YouTubers than there are, you know, generic famous people. You know, there's a Brad Pitt, but there's like a million different people who report on drama like myself. The world is a little different, and I will also say that there is definitely horrible people who exist in Hollywood and all of those things. And I've actually heard it brought up before in my comments, so I will, you know, kind of restate their argument for the sake of everything, is that people assume YouTubers are like regular people. So when regular people don't act like regular people or regular people commit crimes, the kind of relation to that is a lot more severe than when like a famous person does it, right? So like when you hear about a guy like Jeffrey Epstein doing all these things with these famous people and doing all these weird predatory things, you're like, well, of course, they're famous and rich. What do you think they do with that money? But then when you hear about it from a YouTuber or about a YouTuber, you go, but I thought they were just like normal. I thought they weren't, you know, like millionaire, world-controlling predators. You know, I didn't think they were that. So we have a different relation with the audience, or that's how people see it. I personally think we need to get away from that, and I champion for more of a distant, you're watching kind of a TV show kind of deal. But that's what's going on here, right? People assume that it is, but now, based off of these events, which only make up a small sliver of the amount of people that are on YouTube, these journalists write articles about YouTube basically casting a stereotype of what a YouTuber is. So for example, there is a reporter who calls themselves an influencer watchdog, which is hilarious, and also, seriously, you write about drama and you're gonna call yourself an influencer watchdog? You don't, no, okay? And I find it really funny because, like, where were all these journalists with Weinstein for years, or Kevin Spacey, or Jeffrey Epstein, or all these other things? And really the reality of it is that those people are much more powerful than a YouTuber. EDP445 would never have the same kind of clout or social power that somebody like Harvey Weinstein had, or anything else. But the thing is that now there's a public conversation between the boomers who are in control of all of these websites and all that, right? And now they have to have real conversations that have real consequences to thousands of people based off of these articles that are kind of misrepresenting of the people who work on YouTube. And I think this is kind of a problem, and I don't think it's addressed, and I've heard it brought up by other commentary channels, that it smells like smoke, and where's there's smoke, there's fire. And basically what we're saying is that maybe, just maybe, all these journalists are an indicator of a much wider push against YouTube to come. It happened with PewDiePie not too long ago, and I can tell you from both personal, professional, and just general experience, when you work in a field, you talk to your peers, right? If you're a journalist who works in New York City and you all cover a drama beat, or you all cover the same beat, even if you don't, you're going to talk to each other. So you're all generally going to have the same opinions regardless of whatever publication you write at, because believe it or not, journalists, regardless of whether or not their publication is one way or the other way, generally can write for whichever. They know how to kind of like turn into a chameleon to write for whatever audience, right? So basically, you got all these journalists that are basically talking about, I think these YouTuber guys are kind of dangerous. There's kind of an issue here, right? And don't get me wrong, there is. But what they are kind of presenting it as, and what I see happening, is that it's all the YouTubers are bad, and maybe we need to do something to check this and correct this and make sure this doesn't happen. Now, don't get me wrong, we need to make sure that people that are like EDP don't do what EDP has done, but the problem is that these journalists cast a very wide net, and it presents itself as a very large issue, when in reality we should be targeting the people who we suspect are the offenders, not just everybody on a platform. Again, this isn't the first time this has happened on YouTube, but then articles like that come out, somebody like PepsiCo or Coca-Cola sees that and they go, yeah, YouTube, I think we're going to pull our ads off. And then that affects my bottom line. And that's kind of an issue for me, and I know it sounds pretty negative, especially when we're talking about the social implications of somebody like EDP, which are a problem. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying that not everybody involved has the best interest at heart. But I will tell you that if it affects my bottom line in a position where I am now, it's going to affect me very hard. Like, for example, you know, I don't like talking about, you know, my personal life that much anymore, but I'm in, like, my final year of college. My loans will need to be paid off real soon, or I'm going to need to start paying it off. And I am miserable at home, so I'm really looking to move out. And, you know, those are all really hard things and require money of which I don't have, but I'm going to make happen somehow. But if something like that happened, it would destroy me. That's not even like up for debate. It would. It just would, you know. And honestly, it's really hard for me to have an honest and good opinion of these professional journalists when they aren't the most honest or professional or courteous or kind to YouTubers. There's a very, like, I can tell you, in the community that I'm in commentary in general, most YouTubers would say if a journalist asks to speak with you, the answer is no comment or I don't want to be involved. And that's really just how it should be for YouTubers, because they just don't use it in a way that's appropriate, or they change it so that way you look like a moron or a jerk, or basically they do it to fit their angle, which journalists have been doing for years, but YouTubers are trying to catch on and be ahead of the game when it comes to people like this. Really, I think EDP is going to be one of those events where we might see some action happen in the coming days. Now, I haven't been on Twitter today whenever you're seeing this video, so maybe some action has happened, but I would say look out to see what else is going to happen, because EDP's situation does not happen in a vacuum. James Charles' situation does not happen in a vacuum. David Dobrik's doesn't happen in a vacuum. What does this mean for the platform in general? Could you see something happening? What do you think is the best case scenario? What do you think is the worst case scenario for this moving forward? First off, best case scenario, EDP loses his channel. He definitely should. That's completely non-negotiable. I mean, honestly, he should go to jail. That's what should happen here, by the way. You know, just because he's talking to minors, there's a very real possibility that he has some sus stuff at home, and that basically once the police just seize all of his stuff, I don't see his life going anywhere for a long time. So there's that. That's best case immediate happenings. And then what's going to happen from there, I don't know. You know, there's been a lot of like legislation thrown against YouTube recently and in times before, and they've tried their best to handle it, but man, I don't know if YouTube could handle another scandal the size of like David Dobrik or James Charles right now. I think we might be reaching a breaking point, and I don't think I'm the only channel that's saying that. But what do you think? Am I being alarmist? Is this completely wrong? I don't know. Anyway, guys, it was just a little bit of a talky video today. I'm sorry. It's not funny ha-has or whatever the shit. Anyway, if you want to follow me on social media, you can follow me at FPS Diesel on Instagram and on Twitter. Instagram, I post pretty regularly now. I've been trying to out the whole Reels system, so I'm posting not TikToks on Instagram. Anyway, guys, take care, be safe, be well, and if a large man comes to talk to you and you are a minor, don't talk to him, because he might be EDP. Or just don't talk to strangers on the internet, right? Is that it? You all know how to handle yourselves, right? I'm not even gonna, you know.